restrictions on sex offenders really accomplish? The story of Jacob Wetterling is what brought about the federal law that requires every state to create a sex offender registry. 11-year-old Jacob Wetterling was abducted and law enforcement lacked a list of offenders which would have aided in their search for Jacob. Megan's Law requires states to make their registry information public. Megan was a 7-year-old at the time she was raped and killed by a known child molester who moved in next door to her family without them knowing. Besides registration and notification laws, residency restrictions have been placed on sex offenders. These restrictions they limit where an offender may live. Mainly, residency restrictions keep offenders away from places such as playgrounds, daycares, and schools. Who is listed in the registry? Offenses range from forcible rape to public indecency. Many of the registrable offenses do not involve crimes against children. One registrable offense in New York State is unlawful imprisonment, which requires a person convicted of unlawful imprisonment that victim is 17 or less and is not their own child to register as a sex offender. I work at probation in Washington County, and we have a person on probation right now who was convicted of unlawful imprisonment for locking his girlfriend's daughter in her bedroom because she was bad. He's now a registered sex offender for the next 20 years. All of these laws are passed with good intentions. They aim to protect the public and our children. These restrictions reduce recidivism, but no scientific evidence supports that they really do. They lead to restrictions and they lead to unintended consequences. According to Does It Watch Pot Boyle, which is an analysis of New York State sex offender registration and notification laws, these laws have limited effectiveness because they are based on misconceptions. People believe most sex offenders reoffend, and they believe strangers commit most sex offenses. A Bureau of Justice study indicates that 93% of child sex abuse victims knew their abuser, and 9 out of 10 adult victims had a prior relationship with the offender, whether it was intimate, whether it was family, or just an acquaintance. Registration laws may be ineffective because they focus on offenses committed by strangers. These restrictions can lead to unintended consequences, such as homelessness, increased risk factors that contribute to recidivism, such as stressors, and disruption to parole and probation services, and the protection of one neighborhood at the expense of another. They can also include lack of access to treatment, lack of employment options, and separation from family. Without these supports, offenders are more likely to reoffend. So I think the government should take a closer look at these restrictions that are placed on sex offenders and evaluate what they are really accomplishing.